These photographs are from a journey taken through Xinjiang in the early summer of 2011. I was working as an English teacher at a middle school in Dushanze. This small oil refinery town on the northern side of the Tianshan range of mountains proved to be a place of dichotomies. Some were less obvious than others. Rising out of the town's arid ground, a five-star hotel provided the first obvious contrast. Built primarily for visiting engineers and businessmen, this was the most modern building in Dushanze, which in turn is the jewel in the crown of China's oil industry. And yet the hotel was called the Maitak, which is the name of the town in the language of the people who lived there before oil was big business, the language of the Uyghurs. The town provided a sanitized microcosm of the issues facing Xinjiang, and it was ours to enjoy, except for the tantalizing road south towards the beautiful Tianshan Mountains. This road was most definitely off limits, due to a military base, so we were told. During this journey from Dushanze, I travelled by train from Urumqi to Kashgar, 25 hours on hard wooden seats in a carriage with broken fans. The Christmas decorations were a cruel taunt in the summer heat, but it was the start of a glimpse of a part of the world that was changing. A region fabled in tales of the Silk Road, yet mostly forgotten in modern times. A silenced workforce producing raw materials and products which China profits from financially and in terms of the influence it wields over the rest of the world's economies. The streets of Kashgar buzzed with the determination of a culture trying to keep its head held high whilst its ancient buildings were being flattened. Heading south, along the Karakoram highway, the seeds of tourism had been planted in this wild west. Roadside shacks will eventually become franchised coffee shops. Bazaars will still run, but as day tripper diversions. The majestic Tianshan is now promoted as a snowboarding heaven. Further still to the southwest is Tashkurgan, a lonely outpost, mostly peopled by the mountain Tajiks. A vast boardwalk was being constructed on the grasslands by the Tashkurgan River. The next flood, though, was more likely to be domestic tourists than a deluge of water. In 2011, there were still families grazing their animals on the grassland, a sea of green dotted with white yurts. While some would be welcoming of the cash injection from visitors, many were wary of the increasing police and military presence and were looking towards the border. From Tashkurgan, it's possible to travel into the Wakhan corridor, the gateway to Afghanistan. The chance of a new life, perhaps. But is it possible for any culture to survive across a border, severed from the landscape and language which defined it? Therein lay another dichotomy.